It actually takes a tremendous amount of ideological commitment and discipline to not solve this problem. The actual solution to the problem is quite clear. It's staring you in the face. And that is demographics. If you add up the number of Palestinians in Gaza and add it to the number of Palestinians in the West Bank and add that to the number of Palestinians within what is now Israel, who are Israeli citizens, if you add all of them together and then you calculate it with the current birth rates among Palestinians, maximum 10 years, Palestinians are going to be the majority in all of historical Palestine. They're going to be the majority. They're already neck and neck with Jewish Israelis. The Palestinians are going to outnumber. Within a matter of years, before, in less than a decade, the Palestinians are going to be the majority in all of historical Palestine. To say to the Israelis, take the land, all the land that you want, take it. Take Gaza, take the West Bank. Incorporate all of that into Israel. We have only one condition, which is that you give full citizenship rights to all of the current inhabitants, to all of the current residents and inhabitants of those lands. All of the current inhabitants of Gaza, all of the current inhabitants of the West Bank should be given full citizenship rights in Israel. And you can take everything. Now what are you going to do? You've taken all of the land. You cannot fill it with Jewish people. And if you even went even further than that and said, take all of the land that you want to call what the Zionist project is, the Greater Israel, Eretz Israel, take all of that land, including Sinai, including Jordan, including Lebanon, take all of it. What are you going to do? If every single Jewish person on earth moved there, they would still be a minority. They still wouldn't make up the majority. The majority would be Palestinian, Arab, Muslim. And then, even if it would be called Israel, what was historical Palestine will return to the status that it had prior to the creation of Israel, which is an Arab land, an Arab territory with a Jewish minority. If the lands are integrated and the Palestinian inhabitants of those lands are integrated and given full citizenship rights, well, Israel has a democratic system. It can't stop talking about it being the only democracy in the Middle East. It has a democratic system. So then you have a majority of Palestinian voters who would then vote in their members of parliament or members of the Knesset or whatever, and the Jewish state would be finished. It would be a democratic Arab nation with a Jewish minority, as it always has historically been. And the problem is solved. No more war, no more conflict, no more blockade of Gaza, no more airstrikes. But we can't swallow the idea, because it would look like a defeat, superficially, to say, okay, fine, take all the land. Because they can't fill that land with Jewish Israelis. Like I said, even if they took every Jewish person from the face of the earth, even if every single Jewish person was a Zionist and moved to Israel, they still wouldn't be the majority. The only way that we can lose this fight is by continuing to make it a fight. We are supposed to be realistic people. And if we want to solve problems, we have to be realistic. And the fact of the matter is that the framework of international law and all of the talk about final status talks and all that kind of thing, that's never been genuine. It's never been authentic, and it's never had any impact whatsoever on the reality on the ground. So, we should deal with reality as it is. So I hope, inshallah, that we as Muslims and that the Palestinians would start to think and consider this option, and to stop talking about a two-state solution, because that's just a recipe for endless conflict. And even if conflict was resolved, it would be a recipe for Palestinian enslavement and dependence forever. And start talking about a one-state solution. Because look, if the Palestinians were to actually go into the international community, on the international stage, and say, we are willing to cede all of our land to be integrated into Israel, and all that we ask is to be given full citizenship rights, how could Israel possibly reject that in front of the international community? By all appearances, it's like a complete surrender with a very reasonable demand in return, which is we just want to be citizens. No more fighting. Fine, you win. No more fighting, you win. Take the land, just let us be citizens. That's all we ask. Who could reject that? It would make Israel look horribly bad to reject such a reasonable offer. And we would have to understand that it is not a surrender by any stretch of the imagination. It's an absolute victory. If the Palestinians are integrated into Israel, within the number of years that you can count on one hand, they'll be the majority in that country. That's a victory. You will determine the character of the country, the culture of the country, and the government of the country, and the policy and the legislation of that country. How is that a loss? But the Islamists want to, and again, it's not only them, but the Islamists want to present it as this endless conflict that there's no way to resolve it except to fight and jihad and so on and so on. Like any of the previous intifadas have achieved anything even resembling better situation for the Palestinians. No, so I hope, that we can start to look at things in a more realistic way and try to take the ideology out of it and realize that as Islamists, it's our obligation to try to do what is best for the Muslims, for the people, what actually makes the most sense, and what's actually going to be effective in work, even if it is, contradictory to the ideological paradigm that we spout all the time. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I don't think that you can refute it with facts. So anyway, Jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum.